8 spine-chilling Home Alone encounters exposed. Discover the sinister truths hidden in Kentucky. Lily Miller was home alone for the first time. The thrill surged through her veins as she settled into the couch, a box of hot pizza on the table, and her favorite show streaming on Netflix. The laughter from the characters on screen filled the air, drowning out the quiet hush of her Kentucky suburb. But as the last slice of cheesy goodness disappeared, an unsettling silence enveloped the house. The sweetness of pizza lingered only for a moment before the darkness crept in, wrapping around her like a suffocating blanket. Outside, the tree line bordered her backyard, looming shadows whispering secrets of a foreboding night. She shrugged off the prickling sensation crawling up her spine. Just the wind, she convinced herself. Or maybe the creaky old bones of this house settling after a long day. But the flickering lights above her head betrayed her fragile calm, dimming the room and casting eerie shapes against the walls. Each faint, scratching sound against the living room window sent icy tendrils of fear dancing across her skin, igniting her pulse into a frantic rhythm. Images of her mother's warnings flooded her mind. "You can't trust anyone, even in our little town," her mother had cautioned, reminding her that every friendly face might conceal darker intentions. The sense of security she had taken for granted began to slip away, leaving cool dread in its wake. Suddenly, the doorbell echoed through the stillness, a sharp knife in the quiet. Panic gripped Lily as she tiptoed to the peephole. Mr. Jenkins stood on the porch, the elderly neighbor with his endearing plaid shirt, but a warmth that used to comfort now felt suffocating. "Don't answer it," her mind screamed, but she could see the smile he wore, the kindness in his eyes that had always put her at ease. Yet, her mother's voice echoed like a haunting mantra, "Never trust strangers." With trembling hands, she pulled open the door. His entrance was quick, as if he had been waiting to rush in. "Just wanted to make sure you're all right, honey," he cooed, but Lily felt her stomach twist. His eyes, though friendly, bore an intensity that felt wrong, like they could read the secrets behind her nervous exterior. She stammered out a weak response as he filled the space with stories from a bygone era, gripping her tighter in his web of forgotten folklore. "They say the woods have a spirit, a keeper, who takes what he wants," he recounted, and with each word, the shadows around them seemed to stretch and twist. By the time he spoke of long-lost youth lured into the darkness, her heart raced so fast she could barely catch her breath. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As midnight struck, the atmosphere shifted. A loud crash reverberated through the house, slicing through the tension. Mr. Jenkins's expression darkened, his jovial tales falling silent. Lily's heart thundered, feeling the threat of something far worse than a harmless neighbor lurking between the veils of the night. Something outside, malevolent, hungry. Her instincts screamed to run, to escape. But where? In this moment, she realized the chilling truth: safety was nothing more than an illusion, and the lines between friend and foe were blurred beyond recognition as shadows began to gather, pulsing and crawling closer, as if drawn to her fear. Would she survive another heartbeat in the unforgiving embrace of the night? Lily's breath quickened, shaky and shallow as she sensed the darkness seeping into the room like smoke. The crash had echoed from the kitchen, a sound that felt both foreign and dangerous, sending adrenaline coursing through her veins as she desperately tried to compose herself. Mr. Jenkins's eyes bored into her, his smile now stretched too wide, almost predatory. "What was that?" she whispered, her voice barely rising above the flutter of her nerves. "Oh, just the house settling, dear," he replied, but the tremor in his tone betrayed him. He glanced nervously towards the kitchen door, the shadows swirling around them thickening, feeding on her mounting fear. Lily felt the urge to push him out, to slam the door and lock it tight, but an unseen weight kept her frozen. The ominous hush that fell between them felt thick, suffocating. "Mr. Jenkins, I think maybe you should go." She stepped back, her instincts clawing at her, warning her of the encroaching danger. "But I need to tell you about the keeper," he insisted, his voice dipping into a low rumble, almost a growl. "He's out there, watching. He won't rest until he gets what he wants." Even as she felt the chilling grip of terror, curiosity flickered a dangerous impulse. What could a spirit want? She pressed her palms against the doorframe, the wood cool against her skin, grounding her as she fought against the panic rising in her throat. Suddenly, from beyond the kitchen, a soft whisper rippled through the air, a voice, indistinct yet haunting. It called her name, a ghostly sound that sent ice shooting down her spine. Lily's heart raced as she turned to Mr. Jenkins. The cheerful facade faded entirely, revealing a shadow beneath. "Is someone in there?" she asked, her blood pounding in her ears. That he simply grinned, the corners of his mouth twitching, revealing too many teeth. "It's just the keeper," he crooned, laughter bubbling up that felt sickeningly out of place. "He always wants to play." As if on cue, a heavy thud echoed again, this time closer, and a shiver ran through Lily. "Get away from the door!" she shouted, panic overtaking her again as she edged backward. The smile vanished from Mr. Jenkins's face, replaced by a look of irritation. "I wouldn't do that if I were you," he warned, his tone dropping to a dangerous whisper. "It won't end well." The power in his voice pierced through her fear, anchoring it deep within her chest. She glanced towards the kitchen, her heart pounding furiously. Her mind raced with choices: run or stay. Disconnecting from the swirling threat felt like trying to untangle a net cast by the very shadows prowling at her feet. Then, the smooth, wooden floor creaked beneath her, shifting the balance. It wasn't just any shadow that was ready to take her, it was now a living entity, creeping closer, drawn to her every inhale. The world felt unsteady. "Lily," whispered the voice again, more distinct. This time it had a quaint familiarity, like a friendly lullaby turned sinister. It was certain someone was calling her, coaxing her to the darkness, luring her away from safety, but just then, the living room lights flickered violently. Darkness loomed, and she saw ephemeral shapes gliding just beyond the reach of light, a forest of gnarled limbs twisted into grotesque forms. "Lily, come outside." The voice beckoned, an urgent plea that carried both alarm and allure. Dunamar. Jenkins shifted closer, his breath hot against her ear. "You're curious, aren't you? The keeper has chosen you. You can't fight it. You can't resist." Her body refused to move, paralyzed between the weight of the old man's stare and the calling from the shadowed kitchen. Terrified, she searched for an escape, an ally. "Stop!" she shouted, hoping to regain control, her voice wavering against the tide of darkness. "Get away from me!" But as the lights exploded in a shower of sparks, plunging her into a daunting abyss, she understood her night was only beginning, and the keeper was not just a tale told to frighten children. It was a terrifying reality waiting just outside her door. The last flicker of light faded. Lily was left standing alone in darkness, the whispers growing louder, circling her thoughts. Would she answer their call, or face the other side of her nightmare head-on? The silence pressed against Lily like a heavy weight, smothering her senses. Panic clawed inside her chest, squeezing tighter with each breath she took. Shadows writhed closer, wrapping around her ankles like tendrils reaching for their prey. She was trapped in a wake of darkness, the world around her fading into an ink-black void. The whispers grew louder. "Lily, come outside." The voice danced through the air, just beyond her reach, promising something just alluring enough to tempt her forward. She forced her eyes to adjust, but all they found was thick blackness. The corners of the room shifted, dark shapes flickering in and out of focus. It was as if the very walls had become alive, breathing, watching. Mr. Jenkins had vanished from her sight, and with him, any semblance of safety. "Stop it!" she yelled into the blackness, her voice cracking. It echoed back, unsettling, deepening her sense of isolation. Each word fell amid the whispers like a stone into still water, sending ripples of dread through her. Her feet skittered backward, searching for the smoothness of the wall, the familiarity that could anchor her in this unraveling nightmare, but instead, her fingers brushed against something cold and wet. The stark contrast shocked her. She whipped around, her heart threatening to burst as a damp, slimy tendril coiled around her wrist. She gasped, jerking back, but it tightened its grip, drawing her closer to the cold, dark kitchen, and then she saw it. For a split second, a figure loomed in the depths, a vague shape, tall and ominous, glimmering faintly as if made of distorted glass. It stood motionless, feeding on her terror, eyes like black pits boring into her very soul. The Keeper. "Let me go!" she screamed, kicking against the constriction, struggling to break free from the grasp of unseen hands that pulled her closer. The whispers surged, rising to a frantic crescendo. "Join us, Lily," they chanted, echoing in a ghastly choir, the sound turning her stomach as fear ignited her fight-or-flight instincts. "No!" she shouted again, rage igniting her veins. With every ounce of strength, she twisted her arm and pulled back, hoping to break free from the clutch of the shadowy figure. The pressure loosening allowed her enough space to stumble backward. With adrenaline surging, she decided to run, feeling her way toward the front door. The whispers curdled behind her, hollow and furious, lips of darkness slashing at her with icy breath. She burst into the hall and lunged toward the door, but when she reached for the handle, it was icy cold. No give, no freedom. "Lily." The voice had changed, growing more sinister, unnervingly close. "You belong to the Keeper now." Her heart sank. The darkness was alive, feeding on her despair. She wasn't just running from shadows, she was caught in a web of fear woven by an ancient presence that had bided its time. In a moment of clarity, she realized she needed to confront the Keeper. The thought sent a shudder through her. What if she was wrong? What if facing it would only lead to her demise? Or perhaps it was her only hope to take back control of her reality. Swallowing hard, she turned to face the spreading shadows pooling in the kitchen doorway, gripping the edge of the banister. There was no retreat now. "What do you want?" she demanded, her voice surprisingly steady. As she stared into the inky blackness, a shape began to coalesce. It shimmered and flickered, morphing into something unrecognizable, a reflection of every fear she had ever held. The figure spoke, soft and guttural, blending with the cacophony of whispers. "You have something I want, Lily. Come closer." But this time, she didn't flinch. Something ignited within her. Maybe it was hope, or perhaps defiance against the Keeper that had haunted her all night. The shadows seemed to waver, unsure of her rising courage. Could she turn the tide against the darkness? As the Keeper drew closer, the grin on its face, twisted and malevolent, sent a chill running down her spine. She could see its true form starting to take shape, monstrous and faintly familiar. "Do you dare?" it taunted, venom dripping from its words. "What will you sacrifice?" The question hung in the air, heavy and terrifying, echoing in her mind like a death knell. Lily clenched her fists, heart racing. Perhaps the real nightmare was only just beginning, or perhaps salvation lay within the very choice she had to make. Would she plunge into the depths of her fearful past to reclaim her future? Or was she already too far gone? Her breath caught as she realized the Keeper wasn't merely a monster in the shadows, it was a reflection of her own buried horrors, waiting to be unleashed. And as she stood at the precipice of this reality, the door creaked ominously behind her, beckoning her choice. Would she turn away from her demons, or finally embrace the darkness lurking within? The Keeper loomed closer, its shadowy form pulsating as if alive, distorting every fearful thought Lily had ever harbored. The air thickened, and dread wrapped itself around her lungs, squeezing tighter with every passing second. "What will you sacrifice?" The question taunted her, laced with laughter, echoing in the deep shadows. Lily's heart pounded in her chest, rivaling the whispers that swirled around her like angry wasps. She forced herself to breathe. "I want to let you win," she shouted, the sound strong against the chaos, a fragile pillar of defiance. The Keeper paused, surprise flickering across the abyss of its face. But therein lay the dark temptation. What if her resistance only stoked its hunger? She could feel the darkness inching toward her, deeper, darker. Shadows swept through the kitchen, reaching out like fingers wanting to pull her into a void where she would forget herself, forget everything. "What do you want?" she repeated, her voice steadier now. It was a flicker of clarity surrounded by engulfing fear. The answer could shatter the bonds that bound her, or it could seal her fate. "You." The keeper's voice dripped with malice, sent shivers skating up her spine. "You are the key to my hunger. Your energy, your fear, they nourish my existence. I desire your essence." "No!" Lily shouted, shaking her head in defiance. "You don't own me." The icy grip that once straitjacketed her resolve was now melting away, replaced with a heat of rebellion. What had once been suffocating was now strangely familiar, her fears rising like a storm, but this time she cowered less. "You need me." The keeper tilted its head, the grin growing wider, eyes glinting like shards of glass. "Without fear, I cannot thrive. Embrace me, Lily, and you may hold power over me." Her throat tightened at the temptation. Power was what she had always craved, but at what cost? To lower her guard, to accept the darkness. Lily remained rooted in place, fighting to keep her grip on reality. The shadows around her twisted, darkening into shapes almost human, faces forming out of the gloom. They cried out silently, mouths opening in unnatural agony, reflections of Lily's own fears, the fear of letting go, of surrendering to despair. They circled around her, whispering secrets, discussing betrayals, heartbreaks, every thread woven into the fabric of her life. "Remember when you lost?" one whispered, its voice soft and sickly sweet. "Remember how he left you?" Another chuckled, grating like nails on a chalkboard. Pain surged through her, old wounds bursting anew. She staggered backward, terrified of the memories clawing their way to the surface. I won tea. I won tea, fall for your tricks." And then a single thought pierced through the chaos: if accepting the darkness could ultimately unravel it, if confronting her fears would lead to breaking the keeper's hold, perhaps surrendering to her own shadows was the key to defeating the true monster. "I choose to face my past," she declared, emboldened. The words felt like fire. "I will not be afraid." The keeper recoiled, shadows flickering as if caught in a sudden wind. "Foolish girl," it screeched, voice splintering on the air. "Very well, let us see how your courage holds against the depths of despair." The ground quaked beneath her feet, and the shadows contorted violently, opening a chasm below. A scream erupted in her ears, the dying wail of herself as a child, as a daughter, trapped in a cycle of fear and sorrow. Lily stumbled back, clutching at her heart, fighting back tears as moments of weakness flooded her mind. But then she felt it, a flicker of light, a memory of warmth, of love amid the pain. "No, these are mine. I can take this back." And as she lunged forward, ready to reclaim her essence, darkness surged, reaching to drag her down into the depths, screaming, "You cannot escape." Would her resolve hold against the furious tide that threatened to swallow her? Or would the abyss claim her at last, leaving only echoes of her struggling defiance? The pull of despair was palpable, a magnetic force drawing her closer, action about to collide with the inevitable. "Embrace your fate, Lily." The keeper roared, its laughter echoing like thunder, and then darkness swallowed her whole, enveloping her scream as she fell, leaving her to wonder, in facing the keeper, had she become the darkness itself? Lily's world fractured into shards of darkness and silence. There was no ground beneath her feet, only an endless fall into an unseen void. Time lost its meaning. Was it seconds or eons? Panic clawed at her throat as she screamed into the featureless abyss, each cry swallowed whole, never to be heard. Suddenly, a light flickered in the distance, a feeble glow like the dying embers of a forgotten flame. It pulsed weakly, calling to her with an almost desperate yearning. She fought against the dark, struggling to pull herself toward that flicker, longing for its warmth, the promise of safety it suggested, but as she approached, the light morphed into a twisted vision of her past moments imprinted with joy and sorrow, all captured in sepia tones, like a broken film reel shuddering to life. She saw her childhood home, bathed in golden sunlight, laughter ringing through the halls. Then it shifted. The laughter twisted into sobs and wails, morphing the sweet memories into haunting echoes. Witness the weight of your choices, the keeper's voice slithered through the darkness, each word like venom. You've created this misery. You'll never escape it. It always comes back. No. She whimpered, more to herself than to the shadows. Her resolve was slipping, memories spinning around her like a cyclone, suffocating and relentless. Scenes of long-lost friends, of love she had never fully understood, danced provocatively at the edge of her consciousness. Every regret and moment of despair weighed heavy on her, pulling her down. Embrace the truth, the keeper urged, its voice now 1,000 blended whispers. Freedom is an illusion, and your failure is your only reality. Lily clutched her head, eyes squeezed shut. She could feel the pressure building around her, shadows closing in. But amidst this despair, something within her flickered fiercely, an unyielding flame of courage. She wasn't just a vessel for their darkness. She felt the warmth of her mother's embrace, the laughter shared with friends, the beauty of fleeting love. Those memories could not be overshadowed. I can't deny the darkness, she shouted into the void, her voice rising above the chaos. But I won't let it consume me. I'm more than my fears. In defiance, she stretched out her hands, and in doing so, she felt an unfamiliar power surge through her. It started as a soft glow from her heart, blossoming outward, pushing back the shadows. The keeper recoiled, its form flickering with rage, the whispers morphing into shrill screams of disbelief. No. It howled, a terrifying sound that rattled the very fabric of her reality. You don't get to reject me. But the light continued to expand, a radiant shield against the darkness, illuminating her childhood home once more. It flooded with color and life, the joyous memories entwining, strengthening her resolve. Let me show you the truth. She screamed, summoning the deepest courage buried under years of pain. As the shadows writhed and shrank away from her rising light, she stepped forward, toward the beautifully familiar scene. She could feel the essence of all she had cherished embracing her past rather than running from it, but the keeper wasn't finished yet. Its shadowy form surged forward, desperate to reclaim what it considered its own. With a final surge, it lunged at her, dark tendrils reaching, streaking through the air like thunderbolts. As the light met the darkness, an explosion of heat and power erupted, enveloping her as the echoes of her spirit collided with the keeper's lingering malice. In this moment, she felt alive, stronger than she had ever been. Then, silence fell. In the stillness that followed, she stood alone, surrounded by a spectral fog. Distant cries echoed faintly in the background, but they were no longer torturous, they felt more like whispers of hope. But even in this moment of apparent calm, a shiver ran down her spine. What would the keeper do next? Had it truly been defeated, or was this merely a prelude to something even darker? Lily, a velvety voice purred from the shadows, sending icy tendrils crawling back. Into her heart, you have only begun to understand your power. What lay hidden in the darkness, and what price must she pay to find it? Lily's heart thundered in her chest, the echo drowning out the whispers of hope that lingered in the air. Shadows slithered and coiled around her, thick and palpably malevolent. She forced herself to breathe, but the familiar scent of damp earth and decaying leaves clawed at her senses, suffocating her resolve. Don't listen to it, she muttered, even as the keeper's voice whispered seductively in her ear, painting her fears with exquisite detail. This is not the end. You can escape if only you surrender. No. She screamed, shaking her head violently. She willed the panic to abate, but dread nestled deep in her gut, growing into a gnawing certainty that something dreadful awaited her in this endless night. The fog thickened, shimmering like an oil slick, wrapping around her like a twisted embrace. The darkness pulsed, throbbing with an energy that felt alive. And then, it parted, she could see a figure, a woman. Hair fluttering like dark ribbons, pale skin gleaming, her eyes like black holes drawing Lily in, full of remorse and longing. Help me, the woman croaked, stretching out a thin, skeletal hand. Please. I'm trapped just like you. Lily's instincts screamed to run, but the woman's gaze was magnetizing, pulling at something inside her, a forgotten empathy. What do you want? Lily asked, cautious yet captivated. Freedom, the woman whispered. You have the power. You can set us free. Us? A chill crawled up Lily's spine. How many of you are there? The woman's mouth quirked with a dreadful smile, and Lily could hear them, a cacophony of voices, muffled sobs blending into a maddening choir of despair. It wasn't just one lost soul. No, it felt like an entire world conflated with regret and broken promises. They are waiting like I was, the woman hissed, rising slowly as if the air itself strained against her existence. They are the echoes of the choices you made. Lily staggered back, breath hitching. Images flashed before her, a tangle of shadows and despair, faces twisted in sorrow. Each face felt familiar, a reminder of moments she had let slip through her fingers. She gripped her head. No. You don't understand. That wasn't my intention. Intentions don't matter, the apparition sneered, her form shimmering. You cannot escape who you are. Not here. A whisper slid through the air, soft yet guttural. Join us, Lily. Relinquish the shame, the fear. Become one with the whispers, surrender to your darkness. No. The resistance surged within her. I want to become like you. Her heart raced, beating against the burgeoning rush of shadows. As if responding to her anger, the darkness closed in around her, thick as smoke, suffocating. And yet, some small light flickered in her chest, refusing to relent, pushing against the gloom. Remember who you are. She shouted to herself, channeling every joyful moment flickering in her mind, the feeling of grass beneath her feet, her father's laugh, the warmth of her friends. I will not let you take me. The shadows hesitated, recoiling as if burned. The figure of the woman twisted in anger, its features contorting. You think you're strong. You are only staving off the inevitable. Lily shook her head, sensing the heart of the darkness shift, retreating momentarily. She reached deep within herself and let the warmth spread, illuminating the void around her in flashes of brilliant white. And then she saw them, faces, trapped in the gloom, their eyes wide with fear. She couldn't just save herself. She had to reach them too. Step into my light. She cried. But at that moment, the keeper roared, a furious tempest of rage rising up, the atmosphere vibrating with an evil intensity. You think you can save them? You will only drown in their despair. The shadows surged again, a violent tide swallowing Lily's light. What if she was wrong? What if she drew them into her own darkness? And yet, as exhaustion clawed at her limbs, she took another breath, feeling the pulse of courage surge again. How could she let fear stop her now? Behind the keeper, a swirling abyss loomed, shadows edging closer, whispering promises of safety and relief. Don't look away. Don't let them win. She shouted, her vision blurring as shadows closed in, teeth gnashing at her resolve. In a cacophony of terror, she clung tightly to that flicker of hope. I will face this. I am not afraid. But with that declaration, the darkness swirled savagely, what felt like arms reaching out. The ground trembled. Would her light be enough to fight the encroaching void, or was she destined to join those trapped souls in the dark? The keeper laughed, booming and visceral. Let us see how bright your flame truly is, little girl. As everything around her spiraled into chaos, panic pulsed through her veins. With one final, desperate gasp, Lily shot her gaze to the formless void. Would she rise to the challenge, or would her light flicker out forever? The darkness exploded around Lily, swallowing everything whole. Her light flickered and threatened to go out as shadows clawed at her mind, dredging up insecurities, failures, and fears. She could almost hear the keeper's laugh resonating through her veins like a funeral dirge, taunting her with every memory she wished to forget. Don't look away. She screamed, the sound swallowed by the emptiness. With a surge of defiance, she thrust her hands forward, letting the warmth of her light radiate aggressively. The darkness recoiled, weaving and writhing, but the keeper loomed closer, its form an unholy amalgam of her four deepest fears: abandonment, failure, loss, and regret. You can't escape. It shouted, voice echoing off unseen walls, sending shivers crawling down her spine. You are nothing but a vessel of your own nightmares. This is who you truly are. Suddenly, the darkness shifted, revealing a series of reflections, past versions of Lily, each encapsulated in their own prison of gloom. The Lily who never attended that party, the one who turned away from her childhood friend in need, another who passed up her dreams for mundane comforts. Each image studied her, their eyes filled with sorrow as if pleading for acknowledgement. No. You're not me. She cried, desperation creeping into her voice. Oh, but we are, one whispered, its voice the echo of her own doubts. We are the remnant of choices you made. You see, the light you cling to won't save you. It can't save us. Each reflection twisted into grotesque shapes, a parade of her shame, slithering closer as if to snatch her hope. Let us free you, Lily. Embrace all parts of yourself, good and bad. I want tea. She shouted, trembling against the visceral pull of doubt. The keeper's laughter roared again, thickening the air like smoke, stinging her eyes and coating her throat. Think of how easy it would be to give in, it crooned, seductive and low. You don't have to fight anymore. Find peace in despair. The ground beneath her trembled, threatening to split wide open. Around her, the whispers melded together, rising up in a haunting clamoring, building pressure in her ears. It felt oppressive, like a weight pressing against her chest, squeezing the light from her soul, but deep within, a small flicker, stubborn and alive, fought against the tide. No. She gasped, her breath escaping her in shallow bursts. In the chaos, a memory flashed: a quiet summer day filled with laughter, sunlight dancing off the grass, her friends spinning stories full of life. I am not alone. She screamed, feeling the pull shift slightly in her favor. Shadows hesitated, swirling as if confused. Face it. You need us to guide you. The keeper shrieked, fury growing palpable, but Lily wouldn't falter. I can do this. She yelled, and with one desperate thought, she surged forward, a bright blaze igniting within her. The warmth spread like wildfire, illuminating the bleakness, forcing shadows back. A brilliant pulse surged through her, spilling over, brighter and stronger. Together. She pleaded, reaching for the reeling silhouettes. Step into my light. At that moment, something shifted. Wisps of despair reached toward her, questioning, almost hesitantly. Can we trust? One voice murmured. Lily's heart pounded with urgency. This was her chance. I'll prove it. We can be free. The air crackled with tension, the keeper snarling in the distance. Foolish child. You think you're strong enough? With every ounce of her being, she pushed back the darkness. Light erupted around her, spilling through the gaps and swallowing the murky despair. The keeper shrieked, and the shadows began to whimper and fold under her radiance, retreating into the corners, their hold weakening, but just as victory seemed within reach, the ground bucked violently. A fissure tore through the underfoot gloom, and unseen hands clawed at her ankles. No. She gasped, panic flooding her. Join us. The keeper's voice surged with insidious power, the throaty menace trying to drown her light. Was this moment everything she feared, clinging to her fear of failure and falling into darkness? Gritting her teeth, she spread her arms wide, sending an incandescent wave of brilliance rippling outward. Shadows shrieked, tails snapping defensively. She felt their weight lessen, but at what cost? Would her light save the lost ones, or would it only snuff out in the rising whirlpool of shadows threatening to swallow her whole? With one last push filled with determined fervor, she whispered, I will not be afraid. The darkness unleashed one last desperate howl as the chasm beneath her swelled, threatening to pull her down. Would she be consumed, or would her flame conquer the abyss? As she teetered on the brink, heart racing, the whisper of a cold voice echoed around her. "You'll never escape, Lily." The ground split wide beneath her, shadows clawing at her legs as she fought to remain upright. Each tremor in the earth echoed the pounding of her heart, a relentless drumbeat of despair. The keeper loomed above, a hissing mass, its tendrils twisting and curling, seeking to ensnare her. "You can't escape, Lily. You need this darkness, it's part of you." She could feel the icy breath of despair lapping at her ankles as memories surged, familiar faces whispering doubts, patrons of her haunted past reaching out from the abyss. "Don't let the light blind you," they warned, their voices curling around her mind like a noose. Lily shook her head. "No. You are not my truth," she cried, willing herself to reject the allure of shadows, yet, the keeper's laughter echoed, a haunting melody that filled the cavernous space. "Listen to them. The ones you abandoned. The dreams you shattered. They are your strength. The truth is, you've always been alone." In that moment, her resolve began to tremble. She could feel the ground beneath her, continuously shifting, threatening to let her fall. An overwhelming sense of loneliness surged through her veins, and Lily was suddenly acutely aware of every choice that had led her here, the missed connections, the paths left untraveled. She closed her eyes, fighting against the tears that threatened to spill. "I'm not afraid of you," she shouted defiantly, with her hands held forward. She focused on the warmth within, drawing upon it. Light burst forth, a blazing reminder of all the love that had been in her life, the kind words of friends, the laughter shared, the warmth of family gathered around. These were her anchors, and she would not let them drown beneath the keeper's oppressive weight. Suddenly, a surge of clarity washed over her. "Together," she shouted, remembering those trapped souls within the shadows, gaining strength from her light. She reached out, not just for her light but for theirs, for their lost dreams and forsaken hopes. "Step into my light. We can rise together." As the bright pulse radiated outward, the shadows writhed, wrinkling like tinfoil bent by a hot flame. "You dare defy me," the keeper roared, its voice filled with fury and disbelief. But with each heartbeat, the light surged stronger, peeling the shadows away like old wallpaper, exposing the dry, cracked walls of their despair. One by one, those lost memories moved closer to her glow, hesitantly reaching out as fear battled hope. "Can we trust you?" a voice trembled. Lily's heart swelled. "Trust me. We don't have to be alone anymore." But then, as if summoned back, the keeper unleashed its full wrath. Tendrils lashed out, striking the walls, darkness splintering and clawing back with renewed ferocity. The ground shook violently, and the chasm split wider, its heavy darkness ready to swallow everything whole. "Join us. Embrace the shadows that are you, Lily." The whisper was now a shriek, battling her brave light, pushing her closer to the endless void. "You can't escape who you truly are. The abyss is your home." Lily closed her eyes, summoning every ounce of strength she had. "I am light," she screamed, her voice piercing through the fear. The ground felt stable, if only for a moment. But doubt crept in again, relentless and devouring. Would the brightness be enough to keep her from the darkness? As the keeper lunged forward, the shadows mixing wildly, she felt the pulse within her weakening. Time stood still, a breath caught in fear. Would she save herself and the lost souls, or would they all succumb together? Before she could process the gravity of the moment, a sharp pain shot through her as a shadowy hand grasped her wrist, the chill spreading up her arm like frost. "Feel the truth," Lily the keeper hissed, its breath foul and overwhelming. In that final heartbeat, the question buzzed painfully in her mind: what if she truly couldn't escape the darkness? What if it was all just part of her? The pressure in her chest mounted as the keeper tightened its grip, dragging her closer to the gaping abyss. Her pulse raced, each beat a frantic whisper of doubt. The warmth she'd summoned faltered, flickering like a dying flame. With every ounce of will, she tried to wrench her wrist free, but the shadow held firm, a vice of despair around her. "Your light is fading, Lily," the keeper taunted, its myriad eyes glinting with malice. "Embrace the truth of your loneliness, it is your only companion." A flood of darkness surged past her defenses, cold tendrils slithering beneath her skin, igniting memories of failures past. The faces of those she'd lost swirled before her, distorted by grief. "You don't belong, you never did," they chorused, their voices dripping with sorrow. "No," she bellowed, fighting against the despair, "I want to let you win." She gritted her teeth, straining against the shadowy hand as she felt herself teetering on the edge of the void. Each word became an incantation, "I am not alone." The keeper shuddered, its form undulating with irritation. "You think clinging to the warmth of memories will save you? They are just shadows too." Desperation clawed at her, but she forced her gaze toward the faint glimmer ahead. "Focus," she thought. "Think of the connection, the love she had once felt." Suddenly, a name echoed in her mind, breaking through the chaos: Sarah. Her best friend, lost too soon. "Sarah. I need your strength," Lily cried, pouring every ounce of longing into the plea. As the darkness roared around her, a luminous figure emerged behind the veil of shadows. It flickered like a candle, hesitant yet determined. "Lily." Sarah's voice was a melody of light. "Remember, you are never truly alone if you carry us in your heart. We are with you." A wave of warmth spread through Lily, igniting her pulse with newfound vigor. The icy tendrils recoiled, shrieking in fear. The keeper's eyes darted, confused. "No. You want tea. I will not allow it." "Yes." Lily shouted, emboldened by Sarah's spirit. "Together, we can break you." And just like that, the connection surged, intertwining their essences. A radiant force flowed from Lily, spiraling outward not just light, but the dreams of every lost soul trapped in the shadows. Visions danced before her, laughter, warmth, fulfilling friendships, a tapestry of life woven heavily into her very being. "Hoist them higher, Lily," Sarah urged, her spirit blending into the brilliance. "They want to be free." Lily felt her power amplify, echoing through the depths of despair as countless entities joined her, crawling from the darkness, absorbing the light. For the first time, the keeper faltered, its confidence cracking. "No." It shrieked, a cacophony of fury convulsing through the eternal night. Tendrils snapped wildly, striking at the flickering souls, but there was strength in their unity. The shadows ripped apart beneath the radiant onslaught, unraveling the very fabric of the keeper's hold, but as the last tendril withdrew, the keeper's voice turned to a low rumble of barely concealed rage. "You think you vanquished me, little girl? Darkness is eternal. You can't snuff out what you are." The ground beneath her trembled again, the chasm still threatening to swallow her. She held her ground as the world warped around her, the very earth alive with discord. "Lily," the truth, Sarah's voice flickered, weakening as the shadows reformed. Panic flooded her heart, a warning bell echoing in her mind. What was left to face? The keeper had become something else, a void that was no longer just a presence but a conscious threat spying on her deepest fears. Would she remain whole, or would she have to confront the abomination that crawled beneath her skin? Lily's breath quickened, she could not falter now. The light was still alive within her, but for how long? A final scream broke through the din, and the shadows shuddered. She stepped forward, heart racing, determined to seek the heart of the darkness. But she knew the keeper would return. She could feel it waiting, lurking just beyond the edge of consciousness. The last remnants of light still illuminating the chasm screamed one haunting truth: would they all fall together this time? As the ground rumbled ominously beneath her, the darkness whispered, "The final truth awaits, Lily." Lily stood on the precipice, heart racing, each pulse echoing like a distant drumbeat. The shadows writhed, coiling around her legs as if to remind her of the abyss that lay below. The keeper loomed, its form morphing with a restless hunger. Each whisper from its lips dripped with a haunting familiarity, clawing at her resolve. "You cannot escape what you are," it sneered, eyes glinting like broken glass, but Lily, no longer just a scared girl trapped in her home, felt a fire ignite inside her. A crucial choice lay ahead. With the memories of all she had lost flashing through her mind, she summoned her strength. "You don't own me," she shouted, voice breaking through the chorus of shadows. "I will not be afraid." The keeper laughed, a sound that filled the air with dread yet flickered the light in her chest. "You think shouting at the darkness can change your fate? Embrace it." Movement surged in her, the memories of joy, the soft laughter of friends, the tender warmth of family. She steadied herself, narrowing her focus. "I can face you. I stand on the mountain of my fears. You cannot define me." With that declaration, she thrust her arms forward, feeling that inner warmth blossom like sunlight breaking through clouds. The air crackled as her essence poured forth, illuminating the darkness that sought to envelop her. "I am not alone," she screamed, feeling others, those faces trapped in shadows, gaining strength from her resolve. "Feel my light. Join me." Suddenly, the silhouettes hesitated, doubt creeping into their eyes. Were they ready to rise? One by one, they stepped closer, tentatively easing into the shimmering glow. "Can we trust you?" A voice trembled amidst the crowd. "Yes," Lily cried, a wave of emotion sweeping over her. "Trust the light. We can break free together." In that moment of unity, the shadows writhed violently, their malevolence bubbling to the surface. The keeper roared, furious. "Foolish girl. You think you can turn the tide of what's written in shadows?" But unwavering, Lily responded. "I will not back down. We're more than our fears." Each word strengthened the glowing bridge connecting her to the lost souls. They felt familiar, a kaleidoscope of hurt, of happiness, of everything she had once felt and loved. They were echoes from a time of innocent laughter. They were hope. The keeper's laughter turned to howls of rage as the brilliance expanded, swallowing the shadows inch by inch. "No. I am eternal. You will regret this choice." As the darkness writhed and shrank beneath the intensity of her light, Lily felt the rippling power settle in her bones. "We're breaking the cycle," she shouted, feeling each captive spirit joining her, merging into a radiant force. Together they surged, light against shadow, hope against despair, and then, the final crescendo broke upon them. The darkness faltered, the keeper shrieked, its figure flickering as it reeled from the onslaught. Like a thunderclap, light erupted from Lily, radiating outward, and with a final deafening shout, she proclaimed, "You do not own me. I am my own." A violent roar shattered the silence as the keeper dissipated into wisps, the shadows unraveling, leaving only light and Lily, standing on solid ground, breathed deeply, absorbing the release that washed over her. The air felt vibrant and alive as she turned to the spirits of all those she had lost. Their forms shimmered, their faces softening into smiles, a wave of peace washing over her. "Thank you," they whispered in unison, the echoes fading like cherries blooming in spring. "Remember us," the warmest voice said, its familiarity wrapping around her like a comforting embrace. Lily nodded, her heart swelling. "I will never forget." The world around her began to shift, colors blooming where shadows had lain, the house regaining warmth and texture. She felt lighter, as if bricks had been lifted from her shoulders. This was a new beginning, a victory she had wrought all on her own. As dawn broke through the curtains, bathing the entire living room in a golden glow, she whispered, "I am stronger than my fears." And with a newfound confidence, Lily stepped forward, ready to embrace life once more, knowing she would never again allow darkness to win. Remember this moment, dear friends, as new adventures await us. If you enjoyed this journey, you need to subscribe now to stay tuned for the next exclusive story. Smash that like button to feed the algorithm, your support means everything. Flood the comments below with your reactions and theories about the conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need this end to their own stories. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions. Let us keep the community growing.